Hey, David, are we holding for technical difficulties or should I get started?
Let me see. Do you have a quorum?
I don't know.
Let's see.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think so. 1, 2, 3. We're just made it sit and DJ because we've got Jacob, Veronica, Randy, and Autumn, and myself. So I think we're good.
Okay. Yep, you're good. You can start it if you like.
All right, I'll get going.
Just let Paul Newmeyer know. You ready to record, Paul?
Oh, he's connecting to audio right now.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like Madison said we're good in chambers. All right, we'll get started. Hello and welcome to the Monday, November 23rd, 2020, 6 p.m. virtual meeting of the Green Bay Planning Commission, starting with roll call. Members, Lisa Hanson, Chair, present. Jacob Miller, Vice Chair.
Present.
Alder Veronica Corpus-Dax.
Present.
Commissioner Sidney Bremer.
Present.
Ooh. Commissioner Randall Prochowski.
Present.
Commissioner Darius Daniels. All right, maybe he'll jump on later. And Commissioner Autumn Linsmeyer.
Present.
All right, moving on to the approval of the agenda. Approval of the agenda for the November 23rd, 2020 meeting of the Green Bay Plan Commission.
So moved to approve.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Bremer, second by Commissioner Linsmeyer. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, moving on to the approval of the minutes from the November 2nd, 2020 meeting of the Green Bay Plan Commission.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Alder Corpus-Dax and a second by Commissioner Bremer. All approved? All.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And moving on to item number 1, consideration with possible action on the request of the interim director for the Department of Community and Economic Development to consider review and possible revocation of the short-term rental permit at 1135 Shadow Lane.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can everyone hear me by chance?
Yes.
I was having some technical difficulties. I just joined the meeting, so just bear with me for a second here. Okay, so the request is a request from our interim director to review the status and possible revocation of short-term rental permit at 1135 Shadow Lane. And this is the map of the area. I don't have a PowerPoint put together. Just these two properties together just kind of blended together, so it's easier just to kind of show the graphics that we had. 1135 is located right here. It's 3 doors in from Oneida Street, Lombardi Avenue. Another item on this agenda is 1136. That's across the street. Those are 2 different property owners with 2 different short-term rental permits, with hopefully 2 different actions taken tonight. So the first one up is 1135. This is a single-family home. This is relatively a new build for the property, and it's a short-term rental that dates back to 2018 when the home was built. The main concern is that we've received several complaints, I guess, and police calls related to this property as well as 1136. So I just want to share those if I can here. And these are also going to be included within your packet tonight. just get to it here. So this is the redacted version from the Green Bay Police Department for 1135 Shadow Lane. Again, there's been several complaints. These were documented from the police department. So because of the level of these complaints, I think staff wanted to share these with the commission and ultimately the Common Council. On this circumstance, the complaints have been addressed, and I believe the police department has been working with the property owners. So at this point, there's really no other recent complaints or concerns about the properties. We did notify affected property owners. There are, of course, some online here as well tonight. Alderman Weary was unable to make it last minute. He did pass along an email to me that I can also share here real quickly. That I've also included this within the meeting packet tonight as well. Let me just get to that. Again, this is the email I just received from Alderman Weary. He could not be here tonight. He wanted to express his concerns, but optimism that maybe something could be worked out here in the future. I'll let commission members look at this when they have a chance, but just want to make you aware of these comments that he was not going to be here tonight. Our recommendation tonight is for 1135 that the use continue as a short-term rental under the permit that was issued, and it has been renewed for this past year. So it will expire at June 1st of 2021. So it's still an active permit. The other point we'd like to make is within the next 6 months, if there are other complaints or substantiated violations, staff would bring those forward to the Plan Commission for your consideration. So basically, staff is suggesting a 6-month probationary period for this property to see if any other issues arise that need to be considered.
Thank you, Paul. Is there any questions for staff from the commission? Go ahead, Commissioner Bremer.
Paul, I'm just curious, the 3 complaints that came in at different times on the 22nd of August, were those all from the same person or different individuals? Do we know that?
I
know they've been partly redacted.
think they were from 2 different people, as I recall, 2 different individuals.
Thank you.
So I guess, forgive me if I'm not remembering things correctly, but I mean, we stopped doing the short-term rental permits because, I mean, isn't there like a state statute now regarding this? And so things, I mean, I guess I'm not even sure why we still have some of these, because, I mean, once they expire, aren't they just able to run their home or run these properties like businesses through things like Airbnb and such?
We still continue to regulate short-term rentals under the zoning code. 13-1609 is the standards that we use. Again, those are listed within the agenda. There are state of Wisconsin standards as well, and ours kind of align for the most part with state requirements, but we do regulate them. We have, I'd say, between 65 and 70 that are active at this point, and they come up on an annual renewal basis. June 1st is the typical date that we look for renewal on those. This is probably the first time I can remember that we've had to bring 2 of these requests before the Plan Commission. There is a provision in standards that allows staff to bring those to your attention if they're significant or substantiated claims. And in this case, there are. It was difficult to ignore, so we wanted to bring those forward for your review.
Okay. So I guess what you're looking at is a 6-month probationary period.
Right. So I've talked to both property owners. In this case, 1135, I talked to this property owner. I mean, they're obviously aware of the concerns. We feel we should give them some latitude to monitor the situation and to continue working with the police department, and also to manage their tenants or renters, that to educate them as well about the standards that are expected in the city of Green Bay.
Okay. Is there any other questions amongst staff or amongst the commission for staff? Otherwise, I'm assuming there are some people that want to speak on this item. Is that a fair assumption, Paul?
That's a fair assumption, yes.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to open the floor.
Should open the floor.
Second.
Motion by Alder Corpus-Dax, second by Commissioner Bremer to open the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, so if you'd like to speak on this agenda item, please state your full name and address for the record. And if you could please keep all comments to 3 minutes. So is there anyone looking to speak on this item? Oh, and what are the directions for the, if you're just doing the audio, is it *6? I should write this down.
It's either *6 or #6, one of the two.
*6.
*6. All right, I'm writing that down. All right. Or maybe people are looking to speak on the next item.
I'm not seeing anybody here.
Yeah, I'm not.
Indicating they want to speak on this one.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll entertain a motion to close the floor then.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Bremer, second by Alder Corpus-Dax. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Madam Chairman? Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Yes.
Are we talking about 1136 yet, Shadow Lane?
Nope. We were on 11:35.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. No problem. Any further discussion on the 11:35 Shadow Lane item?
I think the staff recommendation is right on it. These were resolved quickly, and the probationary period seems like an excellent idea for dealing with this violation of the standards. So I move approval.
I agree and would second.
All right. So a motion by Commissioner Bremer and a second by Vice Chair Miller. Any further discussion? Now I'll go ahead with the roll call vote. Vice Chair Miller?
Aye.
Alder Corpus-Dax?
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels?
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer?
Aye.
Now I'll also vote in favor, so unanimously moving forward. When is the date of the next City Council?
December 1st.
December 1st.
Next Tuesday.
Okay. All right, so that will move on to City Council for, and moving on to the next agenda item. Consideration with possible action request of the interim director for the Department of Community Economic Development to consider review and possible revocation of the short-term rental permit at 1136 Shadow Lane.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, a very similar situation. I think they're more or less coincidences that they've occurred at the same time frame, so to speak. The only difference between 1135 and 1136 in this sense from a complaint basis is that 1136 had 2 garbage complaints that were filed, I believe, into our office, but those have been also recently resolved. So along with the police calls, which also have been resolved, again, staff is still recommending the same recommendation, I guess, as a probationary period for this property as well. And it appears to be under control and is being addressed by the property owner.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Any discussion amongst the commission?
I'd move to open the floor.
I'll second, but I have a quick question for Paul before we do that.
Sure.
Is it just pure coincidence that these happen to be across the street from each other? It does look like two different owners, correct?
Two different owners, yes, and two different permits, short-term rental permits issued at two different times. So I think it's a coincidence. It seems a little strange, but I can't find any other excuse for it, I guess. So it's just coincidence.
Okay, thanks, Paul. And yes, second to open the floor.
So a motion by Commissioner Petrowski, a second by Vice Chair Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and we'll open the floor, and this is regarding the 1136 Shadow Lane short-term rental property. If you could come forward with your name and address, and please contain your comments to 3 minutes.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, please.
my name is James McGrath Sr. I live at 1137 Thorndale Street in Green Bay, which is the lot adjacent north of 1136 Shadow Lane. I am a 75-year-old disabled veteran, a lifelong resident of the city of Green Bay, with the exception of military service time. I'll be in this household 49 years and 8 days from now. For 48 years approximately, I never had a problem in our neighborhood. This is a residential neighborhood near Lambeau Field. Most of the residents around here have lived here 30, 40 years, and everybody's been very happy. We get along, no problems. In the last year, the property behind us has become a major problem. We had a girls' bachelorette party one weekend, about 12, 13 girls swearing a loud noise. I understand the police came to that one 2 or 3 times that night. A couple of 3 weeks later, there was another girls', I'm assuming, bachelorette party. Same scenario occurred, but the police are coming again. My wife has looked out our kitchen patio door towards Lambeau Field, and she had to unfortunately watch a man in the backyard, 1136, urinating right in front of her. Garbage bags have built up in the back of the house next to the garbage cans, which are overflowing. Just bags and bags and bags and bags. Their property, they don't maintain their grass shorter than 12 inches at times, where the city had to inform them, come cut your grass. It's just a scenario. I understand now they have it up for sale for $409,900. Chance last week or a week ago, just before we got our notice, I happened to be outside with our next door neighbor, and the owner of that property was outside, and he started talking to us. And one of the comments I made to him was, "This is surprising. You're talking to us right now. Why don't you come around to our house and tell us what's going on? You know, how are you going to solve this problem?" It just, how would you like to live with a house like that behind you? Any of you people on the zoning board, how would you like it? And any given time, any given weekend, they have people urinating, people swearing F words, on and on and on, garbage all over the place. How would you like to live by that in a residential neighborhood? That's my comments to Madam Chairman and to the commission. It's just sad, sad, sad that we have to tolerate this. And thank you for your time for listening to me.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Was there anyone else looking to speak on this item?
Madam Chairman, most of the people in my neighborhood who wanted to speak are all out of town deer hunting, so they're all in the woods, Northwood. So they were here, they would have.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, James. Yeah, that's a good point.
I wish them good luck.
I think Jane Woosten, I think Jane wants to speak as well. You're on mute, Jane.
Jane, you're on mute.
Unmute yourself.
Jane?
You're still on mute, Jane.
Jane, you're on mute.
Maybe staff can unmute her.
Okay,
There
can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead with your name and address, please.
Okay, very good. Jane Woosencraft, 1133 Thorndale Street. The house at 1136 Shadow is kitty corner to our backyard. We've, like grass. We've also been here 47 years, I think it is now. And I used to be able to sit in my backyard and read a book or something, but he's already stated some of the problems. But it's not just during the Packer games. It's the people are coming, these transient people are coming for, like Jim said, bachelorette parties and I don't know what else, but this house is often rented. I don't know why, but three things that bother me. Number one, it's the noise. It used to be a very peaceful neighborhood. It is not anymore. Often it is not. The vulgar language is really bad at times. I can hear when people are over there. My husband has talked to one of the groups, and they told him to keep it down, but 5 minutes later it was the same thing with the vulgar language. But what my last thing is, these people 2 times for sure times they use the backyard as a bathroom, and that's really, really disgusting. My neighbors don't do that stuff. But transient people we call them party houses, conditional use permit houses, whatever you have, they don't treat it, they're not neighbors. And they don't act, they don't sound the same, and they go potty in the backyard. So how do you stop them? I don't think the owners of these places or this place can stop them. He might want to. They might want to stop this, but I don't think that will happen. It might happen for a month. And you say already the council has recommended a probationary period of 6 months. Okay, we deal with this 6 more months. Yeah, it's going to be really cold. People can't go to the Packer. Still going to be rented out. So it's a big problem. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Jane. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item?
Madam Chairman?
Yes?
I have 31 seconds left, but this is Jim McGrath. Can I speak again, please?
I believe, as far as point of order, that when he has done that,
okay.
that's the one.
Okay,
the one.
thank you. That's fine. Thank you very much.
All right. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item?
This is Matt Kesey, the property owner. Can I speak now, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
If Jim wants to speak, and he can have 30 seconds of my time if you'd like. If that's allowed.
No, it really isn't.
Okay.
I appreciate your willingness to do that.
Yeah, and again, I apologize for any neighbors that have had distress and have caused issues with. I do want to address some of the issues and talk about what we're doing as well, because we're making changes every day that we can. One is, the cleaning crew that I mentioned with the garbage. We had a new cleaning crew. I don't know why they weren't putting them all in the bins or leaving them in the garage. We have addressed that. The other thing is we're in conversations with Officer Lentz, and we put in for email notifications if there is a call that's placed. We did that a couple months ago, and we've even proactively called Officer Lentz if we need to. So again, we're in good working order to make sure that none of these issues keep arising. And to even avoid that further is we put in with noise complaints, ordinances on Airbnb and VRBO, stating what Green Bay ordinance of the quiet time. Also, we also call the guest and tell them that now. And then I also leave them a message if they don't reach out, and then we send it through VRBO too. And then also we've added to our house rules, along with when you look at people using the bathroom in the backyard, we do not want that to be happening. We put signs up, and we also added that within our rules. The other thing is too, we want to make sure that we're as proactive as possible. We are, when Jeff's there and Drew are on the call with me tonight, they're also property owners with me, that we try to ask and introduce ourselves, give them our phone number if they want to reach out. I understand if they don't want to, but again, we want to be as proactive as possible to help make sure that we don't have any of these incidences. And then the thing is that we actually have a long-term rental as well. So we're doing kind of a combination. So there's not going to be as many weekend rentals as well. So we're trying to figure out the best way to do it. And to mention the front yard, or for sale in the front yard, COVID's been a tough year on us as well, with a lot of this stuff. So again, we're just looking at our options, but again, we want to be a good resident in the community as we go forward. So that's really all I have to say. If there's any questions or anything, I'm happy to answer them.
Anyone on the commission that had questions for Matt?
Madam Chair, if I might.
Go ahead,
Mr. Kesey, thank you so much for the postings and for adding information to your rules. Do you interview your guests as they're coming on board and have a chance?
That's what I want to know.
The nature of the house.
Yeah, most of the guests we are able to talk to, not all of them. I do try to communicate with them. I do reach out to make sure that I have a personal call, that I have their cell phone so that I can text them as well before that.
That is encouraging. Thank you. I appreciate Ms. Wozencraft's question about how you go about this whole business, and thank you for thinking of several possibilities here.
Of course.
Are there any other commissioners that had questions for Matt?
I do. Do you have any surveillance equipment on the premises? Video surveillance of the yard or anything like that? Have you thought about taking that approach so that if people are violating city ordinances or criminal statutes, you could submit it to law enforcement? But more importantly, just the existence of a camera and the knowledge that it's there is a deterrent for bad behavior. Have you thought about that approach?
Yeah, no, that's a good suggestion. We have thought about that. The one concern, and maybe that's something that we need to do, especially if something happens like this again, but I'm trying to keep privacy as well. I know the Airbnb and VRBO, I'm trying to be respectful and not freak people out that if we have one camera outside, could there be some inside? So I have considered that. If we need to go to that step, we could always look at that.
Yeah, and Matt, this is Commissioner Daniels. I'm not even sure if maybe additional research, but if that is allowed with Airbnb and those other rental properties, if you're able to have video surveillance inside the home.
No, correct. I would need to check that out.
Any other commissioners? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Kesey.
No problem. Thank you.
Was there anyone else wishing to speak on this agenda item?
I would like to speak.
Okay, please state your name and address.
Terry Sott, and I live at 1142 Shadow Lane, directly next door to 1136 Shadow Lane. And I didn't hear any response to the last big party they had there, the last huge party, where they were in the streets at 4 a.m. and there was a gentleman arrested. But I did talk to the cleaning lady, and nobody seems to mention that the cleaning lady told me that the place smelled so strong of drugs that she didn't think they'd ever get it out of any of the material stuff inside the home, and that they literally trashed the house. The garage door was hanging for at least 4 or 5 days after these people left. Whatever else they did, I'm not sure. But when she said the house smelt so bad of drugs and people coming and going all night, that obviously is not interviewing your guests. And I just wanted to let that be known that I did talk with the cleaning lady, and she had informed me this. And she is the sister-in-law of one of the gentlemen that owned the house. That's all I needed to say right now.
Lisa, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much for your testimony. Was there anyone else that wished to speak on this item?
I think Drew would like to speak. Drew?
Yeah, Drew, you're muted.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you. Drew Leatherberry, one of the property owners, 461 West Briar Lane, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Want to start just by saying, yes, we understand the challenges of short-term property rentals. Both Matt, Jeff, and myself are all business professionals. We've lived in the Green Bay area for quite some time. We are responsible in how we look at managing the property in spite of some of these recent events. We would like to think that we're very responsive to the last comment on the last party. I think this was the worst that we'd had. As soon as we did find out about what was occurring, we had multiple of us had reached out to the tenants requesting that they collect the trash that was reported on the yard. It is my sister-in-law who was cleaning after that event. There were smells of smoke. We were able to do a deep clean on the property. The garage door was repaired as early as we could. It's now in good working order. And we have actually, among other options, we've located a several month short-term renter who is displaced due to recent fire in her local house. So we have done things to respond. We certainly welcome any communication with neighbors. Our contact information can easily be made available to you. We'd welcome a call anytime, day or night. You have three very responsible individuals that are more than willing to address the situation. And the last thing I'd like to note is that when we purchased the property a couple of years ago, we invested a substantial amount of money in overhauling the garage, residing the property, putting on a new roof to upgrade not only the value of the home, but also the curb appeal. So we do think that we've taken responsible steps to manage the property as best we can. We certainly are taking steps to respond to these tenants so that they can't continue to do this to other short-term rentals. So thank you.
Could I get the phone numbers of those three owners, please?
I was just about to suggest that you might want to take your business cards around to the neighbors so they are presented them, or you could use the chat function right now at the bottom of your screen and click on chat and insert your names and numbers there.
I think if I may, I think we will make certain that our business cards are handed personally to each of you.
Great.
I also added my number, so you do have it if you need anything right away in the chat.
Excellent. Thank you.
Lisa, you're on mute again.
Thank you. All right, so much. Is there anyone else that's wishing to speak on this item?
I saw a phone number briefly, but it disappeared before I could write it down.
You'll have to go to the top where it says, or top or bottom, depending on your system, and go to the chat function. I see all three owners and their phone numbers in like a little pop-up window. So.
Okay, I'm not real techno, but I'll try to find it. Oh, I see it. Okay.
We'll drop off a card as well with our number too.
Would appreciate it. I've never called the police yet.
Right.
I don't know how many phone calls to the police it takes to actually close a house down, but if I see people going potty in the backyard, I'm going to call.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jane. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? All right, I don't think that I see anyone else.
I move to close the floor and return to regular order of business.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Bremer, second by Commissioner Daniels. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, and back to regular order. Any further to
say something? If I'd like to just weigh in by stating that our department deals with a number of nuisance properties, right, across the gamut. We take them very seriously. I know this neighborhood has had some challenges. In fact, I recognize Jim and Jane from Lombardi Neighborhood Association a number of years back. Hello. But as you can see tonight, the owners, I guess what's different than a number of nuisance properties we deal with normally is that the owners are here and active. They're responsive, they're communicating, they're providing information, they're working with us. And that's what makes the difference between it becoming not a nuisance and continuing. So I think that's why as staff, we looked at it and said, you know what, these guys deserve a second chance. We'll give them the 6-month time period to make sure things are going okay and that they're communicating, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl.
Gotcha.
Any further discussion?
Once again, I think the probationary idea is a good one, although I must admit that this situation seems, compared to the last one, somewhat more troubling because there have been a number of occasions of noise and disturbance, both last year and this year, as well as the garbage issue. So it's not just 2 times or 3 times in one night, but still I'm willing to support the staff's recommendation. And I'll even make a motion to do so.
I was going to say, is that a motion?
Second.
Was that Commissioner Petrowski?
Sure was.
All right, thank you. All right, so we've got a motion from Commissioner Bremer and a second by Commissioner Petrowski. Any further discussion?
I presume that the owners realize that we would be very, very distressed if this came back to us within the 6 months. And thank you for your presence.
All right, we'll go ahead with a roll call vote then. Vice Chair Miller?
Aye.
Alder Corpus Dax?
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels?
Aye.
Commissioner Linsmeyer?
Aye.
And I will also vote in favor. So that moves ahead unanimously to the City Council meeting on December 1st. Moving on to the next agenda item, number 3, consideration with possible action on the housing market study.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is David speaking. This is really, the recommendation is to receive and place on file. So the Redevelopment Authority for the City of Green Bay had commissioned a housing market study through MSA Professional Services, which is a planning firm out of Madison. That was completed in October of this year. And really what that is, and so I have a couple options here. I can go over really quickly a verbal kind of rundown. Otherwise, I do have a video, but it is over 20 minutes long from the presentation from the RDA. So what I can do is I can go over it really quickly right now, verbally, and then I'll email all the commissioners a link to that video. So it's on YouTube. Like I said, it's about 20 minutes. It's a good video. It's got a lot of graphics. So I don't want to keep everybody here all night. So I'll just kind of go over it quickly, verbally. So this market study is not only, housing market study is not only for the City of Green Bay, but we had it look at the surrounding communities as well, including Alloway, Ashwaubenon, Bellevue, De Pere, Howard, which we call a secondary market. So the primary market is obviously the city, because we are the city. The secondary is our suburbs. So the study basically deals with 3 main questions. You know, what housing do we have in the city? What housing do we need? and what should we do to get that housing or to meet that need? You know, whether that be partnerships, programs, regulation changes, whatnot. So there was a lot of data analysis. The consultants met with city staff. They sent out a community survey. We received over 1,000 responses, and about 75 of those were in Spanish. So we didn't send that out and multilingual. They did interviews with local housing experts and also conducted focus groups. And I'm just going to go over some of the, and I attached in your packet the full housing study. It's about 90 pages long. Does have a nice summary in it though as well in the front. But some of the key findings, at least as staff sees them, about the data, is that first one is really that growth in Green Bay is projected to slow as far as housing goes. However, the secondary market is anticipated to see over 30,000 people moving to the area, within the next 10 years. So, why is the city's growth slowing, but the outside market is not? That is a good question. And how do we capture some of that? Also, a key finding was that 70% of the city's workforce actually live outside of the city proper itself. So again, why are they not living in the city, and how do you capture them to move them into the city and keep them from moving out, I guess, is another point. Green Bay has a lot of older housing stock. Typically, older housing stock requires more maintenance, as I think everybody knows. But when looking at permits, they've noticed that the amount of building permits for alterations or improvements into homes are way up. Single-family homes, especially infill homes, are up, and multifamily is up. So, there are encouraging things there. However, the supply of available housing is not keeping up with the demand for housing itself, and it's causing quite a shortfall, which has other effects, which I can kind of get to in a second. The rental market in the city of Green Bay is what's considered cost burdened, and actually, in a lot of cases, severely cost burdened. So about 44% of our housing in Green Bay is rental. And of that, 34% pay more than half of their income, of their gross income, on housing costs. So you can see that rental market is tight. The secondary market does not quite have the same, cost burden. Now the average income in Green Bay is a little bit lower, but not that much. But what we did find is that sort of the higher income brackets are actually competing with the lower income brackets for the same housing in Green Bay because of the shortages. And then obviously that kind of trickles down, which was an interesting finding, because then the sort of the middle range housing, they buy lower than what they typically would. But as it goes down, as it flows down, eventually you have a group that can't go anywhere else. There are a big percentage of that group that then spends more than what they should be because there's no housing for them. So that's sort of one of the key findings I thought was interesting. The home ownership market has an incredibly tight supply as well. They found that the city and the secondary market have about a 3-month supply of single-family housing. Sounds good if you're not a realtor. If you talk to the realtors, ideal is a 6-month supply. So we are very short. That shortfall in supply of both rental and ownership housing, really what it does first and foremost is affects the price. Prices increase because there's less on the market. Also, some of the quality of housing stock that is being rented is potentially lower than what it should be. People don't complain and they still rent it because there is a tight market. So I think everybody kind of understands supply and demand. And also, this is a national trend, but it's also a local trend, is that homes and rental prices are going up at a much faster rate than incomes. So you're seeing that divide grow even faster and further every every year, basically. Another group that has kind of not been addressed for housing is the senior population. So over the next 20 years, this study finds that there'll be about 15,000 new residents in the city of Green Bay, or current residents, that are at the 80-plus age range. But the supply of senior housing or senior appropriate housing is not increasing to meet that need. And so, obviously an example, if you have a rental with an upstairs, that's not an appropriate senior 80s plus housing. They have to walk upstairs. And that goes all the way down to, where outlets are located, and it gets much deeper. Another group too that I think everybody thinks of, but it's good to point out, about 64% of UWGB's student population live off campus. So it is very much a commuter school. Those students typically don't have a lot of income to pay for housing, so they are competing with the rental market and competing with the lower income strata to kind of take those housing, putting a larger strain on that. The other thing that's been sort of a historical thing in Green Bay is single-family homes being converted to rentals. It's about 3,400 of them in Green Bay that were originally single families that are now rentals. That is not necessarily a bad thing if they're done appropriately. Many of them don't have enough parking, don't have enough space. Again, in a tight market, they're higher priced and maybe not managed as well as they could be. So that causes problems. Also, a lot of times the rentals, if not managed properly, cause neighborhood conflict with owner-occupieds. So that is an issue as well. There's a lot more findings in the study. Those are kind of the biggies that I wanted to point out there. The one that really surprised me was sort of that downward slope where higher income people who could afford more housing are actually buying the modest housing, and then that trickles all the way down, and then you wonder, you don't have to wonder why the lower income have such a hard time finding housing, and why the homeless issue is increasing, not just in Green Bay. I mean, this is national. So what the plan kind of got into is talk to you a little bit about the housing gaps as well. And it breaks it down by monthly rent or by value of home. But to kind of summarize it, what the study is saying is that the city needs to, and the surrounding area, the secondary market, needs to add 140 to 310 rental units per year to keep up with demand. And then there is a total number, there's a range, it's about 3,500 to about 7,500 units that need to be put in, within the next 20 years. For owner-occupieds, it's very, very similar. About 170 to 380 owner-occupieds would need to be added per year. Again, this is our market and the secondary market, but that's anywhere from 4,000 to 9,000 owner-occupied homes, townhouses, condos. That right now is a gap in our system, and that's increasing to grow over time. What the study did then to look at that, kind of gave us that outlook. It used affordable housing as a target and showed the city, kind of broke the city up into target growth areas, especially for affordable housing. And some of the things that act as factors of affordable housing, access to certain services like bus stops, not in a food desert, sidewalks, park space. Those are the things that kind of drive it for affordable. And so when you look in the study itself, and I can't tell you what exact page it's on, but there'll be a map that'll show gray sort of blobs of where that is. And one significant focus was downtown Green Bay. So we've seen a lot of success over the last 10 years with a lot of rental units going in downtown, not as many as we would like, but a lot of units downtown, a lot of new buildings. But one thing that was noticed by the study when they did their land use analysis is that the downtown has a significant amount of surface area dedicated to surface parking. So they find that as an incredible opportunity. Now, most of that is not owned by the city or the county. Most of it is in private development. And if you remember not long ago, we dropped our parking requirements downtown. All of that is sort of goals, and that's actually a recommendation in here as well. Goals to get those underutilized properties up to speed, and also help with shrinking some of our housing gaps. And really the focus on downtown is multifamily and townhome. And single family, obviously downtown does not really work, but also a focus on senior housing, because, you know, the thought process that people have, senior housing, they think of assisted living. It's not quite the same. People are living a lot longer now. They're much more active. And to be kind of blunt, the last generation to make more than their children or make more than their parents were the boomers. So that 80+ population right now has the most disposable income, I guess, so to speak. The study then kind of went into a bunch of recommendations, and I'll go over a bunch of those, 5 of those quickly. But I wanted to say there's a fundamental that comes out of this study, and that's really building healthy neighborhoods. So what does that necessarily mean? You probably know a little bit, but varied housing types, varied pricing, you know, so you don't have sort of specialized areas that's all affordable or all upper end, kind of blend that together. Putting public amenities such as transit stops, sidewalks, parks, gathering spaces, access to food in all neighborhoods, or at least transit to get to those services, is very important. And also an active neighborhood is found to have been very, very important in this study. So active neighborhood associations, even business groups that do things that keep the neighborhood vibrant, make you want to live there, was felt to be incredibly important as well. And so they really laid out 5 major categories for the city to focus on. And the first was communication. Excuse me, was communication. They are recommending a housing committee be formed to kind of look at housing specifically, and also look at the how this plan is being implemented, and also improvements to staff and developer communications and improvement to processes. So try to make them easier, more friendly, faster. Time is money, obviously, to try to keep that housing market going. The second category was initiatives. Initiatives are things like assisting in growing neighborhood associations, also keeping an inventory of available properties, whether they're owned by the city, the county, or private individuals that are available for housing. There was a plethora of things under regulations, you know, amending the comprehensive plan to allow more of a mixed-use housing type. Our plan was done, you know, 20 years ago, and there's certain areas that are just low-density housing. The plan allows low density to include 2 families and 4 families, but it's not real explicit to saying we're really pushing for that. You know, adjusting fees. Another thought was creating a rural holding zone, so a new zoning district that doesn't allow any home development at all. It's an ag district. What that's doing is trying to stop leapfrogging and pushing out services where it becomes cost prohibitive to develop. And there were quite a few other ones in there as well, and I won't go through all of them, but another category was funding. So there were 2 big recommendations in funding. One, the city is already in process, and that's using what's called a TIF extension for affordable housing, where you can capture the last year of TIF increment and use it for housing in the city. And another one was a affordable housing trust fund. So that money can go into this trust if people are willing to develop properties and have them affordable, whether that's for a short time period or a longer time period, that they could pull from this trust fund, either low interest loans, potentially grants, and to encourage that, one, encourage the mix, because we can designate where those funds are going, mix of housing types in different areas, and also give some people that may have a gap because the rents aren't high enough, especially in a market where they're dictating high rents, that they can still make it cash flow for them. And the last item really was partnerships. The city is really good with partnering. We partner with our current housing providers, NeighborWorks, Green Bay, Habitat for Humanity, the housing authorities, Brown County and Green Bay. However, there are other developers that can be pulled in that are housing agencies and other ones in the community as well. So it tells us to do that. Also coordinate with UWGB and NWTC, both of which have heavy commuter colleges. So those were kind of the two biggies. The last one was also pushing, or not pushing, I shouldn't say pushing, but working with major employers to have them institute some private programs that you think of as government programs, but are oftentimes done by private entities, especially when they're trying to get employees. So like a down payment assistance program. A good example would, you get $5,000 down on your down payment, because that's usually a problem. Lower income could afford the mortgage. They can't get enough to get the house or the condo. So if their employer helps them with that, with whatever stipulations they put, it's a private funding source. It works for everybody. So to reach out to some of those groups and also hit that as well. But those are sort of the highlights. It is a very multi-layered plan. I mean, there's not one approach that they're saying, do this and it's going to solve your problems. Not that they're necessarily problems, but they're challenges, I guess, opportunities. So doing all these layers together should show some results. It is an opportune time for this housing market study to come to us. COVID kind of put a squash on the comp plan update, but hopefully next year that's going to kick in. This study is perfect for that. We're also doing, the Economic Development Authority is doing a commercial and industrial market study as well. That should be done by the end of the year. So with a lot of these recent and current studies together, we can bring that to the Plan Commission and the stakeholders as we start working on our comprehensive plan as well. But this really does dictate, and Cheryl can comment on it, it does dictate what we do on a day-to-day basis, what our workflows look like and what our project goals are. So that's kind of it. That's my quick overview. Hopefully it wasn't 20 minutes because I could have just played the video. But
I just want to add, Dave, I just want to add that the Redevelopment Authority actually has this as a standing item on their agenda every month because staff right now is going through all of these executive suggestions that Dave went through to formulate kind of a plan of action. We've also been directed to come up with a plan of action for that affordable housing money that will be coming in through our TIDs. So we'd like to put these all together. One of the things when Dave was talking about affordable housing was, one of the things they mentioned in the study was that to build a housing unit, it's about $136,000 per unit, and that translates to $1,300 a month in rent. So if you're going to build affordable housing, you need to find a way to subsidize that, because otherwise there's just no way to do that. Which is why you see so many developers trying to apply for the tax credits and those types of things. So I think finding funding, supplemental funding, is going to be very important for us to work on as a team. But we'll be following up with that every month with the RDA, but there are a number of items that I think will be coming back to the Plan Commission, because I think we're going to have to start thinking differently a little bit about how we provide housing in Green Bay, which might take some of us out of our comfort zones. I know we've had some internal staff discussions. What do you mean? Can we do that? I don't know. Can we do that? So we'll be doing a lot of that kind of talk, but it's an exciting time for us, and I'm looking forward to working with staff on putting this plan together.
All right. Thanks so much, David and Cheryl. Any discussion amongst the commission?
There is one request that I would make. I would love to have an email copy of this. There was no way that I could print any of it off of the civic clerk. I tried.
Sure. I did send you a link to it. It is online.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, in your staff report, there's a link so you can hop right onto the website. It's front and center there, so you'll find it.
Thank you. I'm very impressed by all the work that's gone into it and the number of issues that have been identified. And we have had so much trouble with people not happy with rental properties in particular. And clearly that's one of the areas in which we need to make some increases and therefore figure out some ways of handling those issues. Not just short term. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a quick question for staff. And let me paraphrase this by saying 2 points. Full transparency, I'm on the board for Habitat for Green Bay, so we would love more spaces. So full transparency there. So give us more spaces. We can build affordable housing, affordable homes for families. The second thing is, as a downtown renter currently, and soon to be a downtown homeowner in 4 months, once my home is finished, I don't necessarily know, and I know I looked through the survey, and I know, David, it's a lot. It's a lot to chew on in the survey. When it comes to affordable housing and apartment rental in Green Bay, that is right now few and far between, honestly. All the properties I looked at initially, I don't know what the official term is, but Titletown, now by the chamber, whatever that area is behind the chamber.
Yeah, the rail yard.
I know it's rail yard. Thank you. I know it is mixed use now, but I don't know if that falls into like affordable housing. So it would be very interesting to know, and maybe that's part of our plan, is to look at the whole range of housing options in Green Bay, because you're right. Put my hat on, my company hat on. There's not a lot of housing for someone who is was what we consider middle income person if they want to stay, work, and live downtown. I'm blessed and fortunate. I'm not in that category, so I can live downtown and walk to work. But if there are others in the community that want to do that, the housing options are very limited. So I guess I would just say I'm really interested and passionate as a future downtown. I think Whitney Park is considered downtown, but as a future downtown resident, I would be very interested to see where we go with this.
I think Whitney Park is a great example of us looking at housing differently. So if you look at the townhomes that are being constructed, you've got the old Whitney School the use was changed there with the townhomes around it. Kind of new concepts for Green Bay, the attached townhome design. So, Whitney Park's really made a transformation in the neighborhood with all the mixed uses that are there. So that's the kind of things we need to start looking at.
Absolutely, but the downside to that, or the flip side, is that I don't know if that's considered affordable housing.
Right.
No.
Quite honestly, for what was the information that was in the survey and the clientele that was in the survey, I don't think they would consider that affordable.
Correct. I mean, in the rail yard, we had the Broadway Lofts project, which was affordable. Friar House Flats. We've had some larger projects luckily come through, but you're right. I don't think the Whitney Park that was like an affordable project. But even affordability has that range as well.
Right.
We've hired staff that work in our department. And they're like, we can't find an apartment in Green Bay to rent. I mean, they're living outside of the city. They can't even walk to work because they can't find even an apartment anywhere around. So clearly we're deficit on rental units in Green Bay. We need to increase those.
Right. Yeah, and especially, I mean, you may be in a field where your income is higher and you may be considered a little more middle income, but your loan debt or your income to debt ratio is so high that you really aren't there. So it's not just, that typical workforce housing or, whatever key phrase you want to use. It's really an affordable issue that, a $1,200 a month unit, a $1,500 a month unit is just out of most young professionals' price range. It might not be after 3 or 4 years of working, but you don't want those people to leave and then not necessarily come back. So yeah, definitely. That's definitely one of the hot topics to look at.
Sorry, David, did you say you were going to send the YouTube link to us?
I will. Yep. I'll send it out tomorrow morning. I'll shoot out the YouTube link to you.
Would you do me a favor? And could you add Alder Gerlach to the list?
I will do it.
Thank you.
I had a couple quick comments if I'm able. I like a lot of what I heard in reading through from both Dave and Cheryl on it. I think these are a lot of things that we were definitely aware of, but it's good to actually see them put into text with data and everything attached to it. So a lot of the feelings now has something to back it up. So the thing that really stood out to me was the infill aspect, especially in downtown. It's something I always compare Green Bay to when I am traveling. Well, not past, is I think it's one thing that really differentiates a city of this size to similar ones around, the downtown's not very dense and there's a lot of opportunity to fill it in. Obviously there's a lot of hurdles in the way of being able to do that, primarily just the city not having control of that land. And I know I guess my one question there is there any idea of how to maybe either get control or try to help in those terms of helping with infill? And then my other question too is off of the nightmare that we're currently dealing with on Velp Avenue with the salvage yard. What I didn't notice listed in the document was, I mean, it does mention communication, but as we saw from Bigelow, there's a little bit of bad blood there that's risen up due to the situation that unfolded there. And what I'm a little concerned about is us or maybe the city being proactive enough to help kind of maybe avoid those type of situations through proactive zoning via the comp plan, those type of things. A lot of this is outside of our control, but I want to know what we can do to help in those type of situations to get ahead of it.
Well, luckily, I can speak a little bit to the infill housing in that over the past probably 20 years, the city has had this fund called the Neighborhood Enhancement Fund, where we've been taking out properties that have been blighted or for whatever reason. So we actually have, I think, unlike other cities, we've had a number of infill sites. I can't even tell you how many properties we've done with Habitat. There's been, I mean, many, 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 many. Thank God for Habitat for taking these infill sites on where other developers wouldn't do that, right? So that's been very good. So we've got some sites that are available, which is good for us. We certainly can work on more of them for sure. And then we actually have been talking about proactive zoning because that's always been something we have felt, at least through my years with the department, that politically wasn't, how can I say that? When you rezone something, there are a lot of people who don't want the zoning to change as well. They don't want their property downzoned or upzoned or whatever that is. So that's always a fine line on which way you go with the plan. But I feel like there might be a change kind of in ideology with regards to when we change the zoning in an area, that we may want to look at changing the zoning in the entire area and not just when projects come forward. I know I've heard some alders say that to me. Why do we do it that way? And I'm thinking, well, we should take a look at why we do it that way and maybe consider that in the future. And I don't know, Dave or Paul, if you want to speak to that. I mean, I think that's the way we've been doing it for a long time, but.
Well, correct. And the other thing with our code is very, what they call Euclidean. So separate your uses, but it doesn't include a lot of design standards. So oftentimes people are not as concerned with a rental if it's functioning a certain way and looks a certain way, that it fits in with the neighborhood. In our current code, and historically, we've never had really any design regulations or form-based regulations, so to speak. So some type of hybrid between a Euclidean and a form-based code would help to alleviate some of those concerns that pop up. A lot of, especially older homeowners may say, people that have been there for a long time, I don't want a rental near me anywhere. I don't care if it's even a single-family rental. I just don't want a rental. But it's based on a pattern, a historic pattern of, like we had mentioned, those conversions, those inappropriate conversions, and sometimes absentee landlords. And again, no design standards. So, things like closing off all the windows on a porch to make it into a bedroom. that destroys the front of the house. It ruins the block's curb appeal, and it actually drops the values of everybody all around it. But you know, if you don't have regulations to deal with that, you can't stop it from happening, and then you get the backlash. So probably some type of code change with some of that form-based stuff is going to make all the difference. And then after a short time, 5-10 years, that mentality of I don't want a rental around me anymore probably will go away. You know, but we're fighting probably 70 years of history here. So, but it's true. Almost everybody has been a renter in their life. You know, it's not a surprise to people. And if you can give them some assurances, that backlash on the elected officials who have to actually approve the code changes lessens. You know, and then over time, with some wins, you can show that, you know, that your fears really aren't valid. So,
my husband and I are among those older folks who've been around for a while. I've been at the same home since '86, and we're right on the edge of the bay. And I was flabbergasted to see how many single-family rentals there were in our neighborhood. It's about 10 or so. We had no idea there were that many renters because the neighborhood association has really worked well to include renters in at an early stage. And those of us who live here often remark on what a wonderful neighborhood it is.
Well, and that's a great point, because there are long-term renters. There are a lot of people who don't want to own. It's not necessarily, you know, the American dream of owning your own house comes with a lot of cost and a lot of chains. I mean, you can't be mobile any longer, or not as mobile, I should say. And sort of that whole paradigm in people's thinking has changed, that to be a long-term renter is a choice for a lot of people. And so if you have somebody that's renting a house for 10 years, they're just your neighbor. You don't know the difference. So, yeah.
One more question for the group, or for, I guess, Dave or Cheryl, whoever wants to answer it. Do you feel there's any pressure with the competing, or the neighbors in terms of competing for housing share? I mean, we've all seen what happened in Hobart, Swamico, you know, just there's apartment complexes going up like dandelions. You know, is there any pressure to feel like we need to try to keep up or do something different to try to grab some of that share that's out there? Or is it more of like, that's going to happen regardless, and we have to focus on what's within our borders?
I can't imagine why anyone would not want to live in the city of Green Bay. So I think it's our job just to create as many opportunities for people to live here as we can. And like I had stated before, part of the problem is if you can't find a place in Green Bay to rent, you have to go someplace else, right? I think people like Green Bay and would want to live here if the right product was available. So, I mean, our goal is going to be to make as many products available to as many people as we can, because that's just good for the city.
Yeah, and Green Bay is its different entity. I mean, we have our communities all around us. Howard has Cardinal Lane. It's not downtown. I mean, we have an urban fabric that is different than anybody around us, at least until you get down to the Appleton area. But I think the big problem is the availability. And as Cheryl had mentioned, the types or the styles of housing. You know, historically in Green Bay, you're either in an apartment building on the outskirts or a converted or very old rental downtown. You know, the product's just not there. And Cheryl's been working on it probably for 30 years to get more diversity in downtown as far as housing types. And we're having some successes now, but yeah. So I don't think we need to compete with the neighbors necessarily. Also, we don't have a lot of greenfield agricultural sites, which is what you find going up in Howard and Bellevue and those areas. But they also don't have the amenities that we have. I mean, most of them don't have bus service. Most don't have a park system as robust as ours. I mean, we can easily compete, I think, Jake. Just got to promote ourselves the right way.
Yeah, quick question for David or Cheryl. Do we have investors that are coming to us that are lined up to, if we had space available to build? So we have investors lined up that want to be a part of the change in Green Bay?
We just had, the RDA just approved 2 projects, one on Walnut and one actually on the far west side on West Mason. They applied for some home dollars for housing. One was 70 units, the other one was about 50 units. So we've met with a number of housing developers who are calling us saying, where can we go? What sites are available? What do you have? So
right, the hard part
again, though, it's back about, it's about the funding though, too. So if they want to do the affordable housing, they have to, compete for the tax credits. So that's part of the issue, but.
Right. The other part of the issue is availability. I mean, we get a lot of developers coming in saying, I want 15 acres, clear, ready to develop. Well, it's difficult when you're urban.
Yeah.
But in our defense, you can get the same number of units on 4 acres. You just got to build up rather than sprawl out.
Right.
So it's, again, challenges, but also I think desirability as people realize those things are coming online.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it all sounds very exciting. Is there any other discussion?
Oh, we need to move to receive and place on file, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Recommendation. I'm glad the file is going to be such an active location for this. So I make that motion.
Second.
All right, so a motion by Commissioner Brummer and a second by Commissioner Petrowski. Any further discussion? If not, we'll go ahead with a roll call vote. Vice Chair Miller?
Aye.
Alder Corpus-Dax? Commissioner Brummer?
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels?
Aye.
And Commissioner Linsmeyer?
Aye.
And I will also vote in favor of receiving and placing on file. And moving on then to informational report.
Looking through the last council meeting, the majority of course was spent on the budget, which was passed. Yay. I don't think anything was pulled for Plan Commission, so everything went through. I think we're still looking at, we've got 1156 VELP that's out there that I think we'll be meeting on in January specifically for that item. Otherwise, I think everything else passed. And that's all I have, other than everyone should have a great Thanksgiving.
Do we know
safely
for that special meeting yet, or for our own meetings in January? I've got some friends who are trying to set some things up, and I don't want to cut out.
I don't know, Dave or Paul, have you had any thoughts on that January meeting? Or
well, the January meeting is actually number 2 under the same agenda.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we have the date of the next meeting is December 7th, but we need to have a discussion regarding that special January meeting. So it'll be a meeting that's only focused on the salvage operation. I have sent a letter out to everybody that has received all the other letters. I mean, I think we sent out 4 or 5 letters, and let them know to give me any comments or evidence by the end of the year, by December 31st. I have talked with our attorney's office. We'd like to give at least 10 days for the applicant to be able to respond to the evidence. So really, if we're going to have a special meeting in January, sometime after the 10th, and it's really your availability is what's going to drive the meeting date and time. Doesn't have to be at night. It could be during the day. It's really when you are all available.
So you'll be getting in touch with us about that then, David?
Sure. I'll do something like a doodle, how about a doodle poll or something like that to find out your availability, and then I'll pick a date out that everybody can make it, or at least a quorum anyway.
Well, would you guys prefer an evening time compared to a daytime? Am I seeing it? So at least we can narrow it down to evenings. Okay. Except for council meeting days.
No, yeah, right. I mean, Tuesdays are not good for me, but I think we can just do on Mondays since we normally meet on Mondays anyway. So maybe one of the alternating Mondays where we're not meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I assume we will also have a regular meeting at some point in January, so we can anticipate there will be 2.
Yes. 2 or 3 potentially, depending on how the council has them. So your timelines are typically based off of the councils.
Right.
So,
and I was talking with Jesse about that earlier today, and so I think you're all waiting until you find out when the council is going to be meeting, right? Before we can go forward.
Yeah. Well, I think your January schedule is set, I believe. I'll find out, but I will check, make sure it won't conflict with any standing committees of the council or a council meeting for sure. And I think the alternate Monday to a PC is probably the best choice, because typically you're not going to have any meetings on that Monday. So
the calendar distributed only goes to the end of the year. So we're bumping up against not knowing what comes next.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's how efficient we are, right? We're already talking January. We're not even December yet.
All right. So then the date of the next meeting is Monday, December 7th, 2020, and discussion regarding a special meeting in January 2021.
Which we did.
Right.
And I see Madison has just posted that we do have a meeting on the 5th of January.
Okay.
All right. Well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Yay!
Opposed?
Bye, everyone. Enjoy the holiday.
Happy holidays.
Everybody,
Be well.
Take care of yourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.